What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. We got a low-key great matchup going down in the light heavyweight division. Not getting a lot of fanfare, not getting a lot of buzz, but this is going to be one of the best fights of 2022 in my opinion. This is Hagler Hearns of the light heavyweight division as far as exciting, as far as must-see TV. But maybe this fight goes down kind of similar to the Triple G David Lemieux fight when we thought that was going to be a fight, and then what all transpired in that matchup was that Triple G systematically broke down David Lemieux, showed his boxing ability, showed his technical aspect that a lot of people didn't think he thought he'd bring to the table. He was able to jab and make David Lemieux constantly have to reset. You know, hit him with the 1-2 all night long, go to the body, break him down, and ultimately stop him in the early portion of the second half of that fight. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But this is a very, very exciting matchup. You got the WBC and IBF light heavyweight champion, the Russian assassin who resides in Canada, Athur Beterbiev, taking on the WBO light heavyweight champion, the modern day Rocky Balboa. Yo, Adrian! Yeah, Joe Smith Jr. This fight's going down on the East Coast. I believe it's going to be in Verona, New York, or maybe in the Prudential Center, somewhere in there. It's going to be on the East Coast. It's going to be in New York, upstate New York, if I'm not mistaken. It's going down, and maybe it's, I don't think it's going to be Madison Square Garden. I don't think it's Madison Square Garden, but it's definitely going down in the state of New York. And this is going to be a very exciting fight. This is a fight for the boxing casuals. And this fight can go one or two ways. Like I said, a lot of people think it's going to be a fight. A lot of people think it's going to be Hagler Hearns of the light heavyweight division. I don't necessarily see it going that way. It could go that way. It's all about what Athur Beterbiev chooses to fight. Because he can fight him like Triple G fought David Lemieux. Because he is the better boxer. He actually can box a little bit. His boxing skills are underrated. But he's a guy that's a seek and destroy type of guy. But he can do what Triple G did in the David Lemieux fight. Everybody thought that was going to be a shootout. Everybody like, man, it's going to be a shootout, man. First person get caught going to get knocked out. And Triple G went in there and boxed David Lemieux ears off with the jab in the right hand. The 1-2 all night long. Then he mixed it up going to the body with the jab. And, you know, he basically controlled distance and basically kept David Lemieux at bay. And ultimately stopped him in a very great performance by Triple G. He showed a different aspect of his game. A lot of people didn't think he had that type of a skill set. And he actually implemented a similar style in the second fight with Canelo Alvarez. So Athur Beterbiev can choose to fight that style, which will decrease Joe Smith's chances of winning. Or he can go in there looking for the knockout, fight like he normally fights, looking to set up power punches, and give Joe Smith his best opportunity to pull the upset victory. Styles make fights, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Smith Jr. fought the other light heavyweight champion, Dimitri Bivol, and that was a stylistically nightmare matchup for Joe Smith, and he got beat decisively. As Dimitri Bivol kept that jab, the jab, remember that Athur Beterbiev team, the jab, kept that jab in Joe Smith's face all night long. Kept that jab in his face all night long, hitting him with the 1-2. Controlling the fight from distance, showed that he was the much superior technical boxer, and he was able to basically outpoint and wash Joe Smith Jr. Athur Beterbiev can take a page out of Dimitri Bivol's book, or he can fight like he's been fighting. Say, look here, man, I'm the power puncher. I'm the most versatile power puncher. He's a power puncher, but I'm the more versatile power puncher. I can knock you out not only with grouping shots, but I can knock you out with short, straight shots. He's one of the best short, straight power punchers in boxing. That guy does not have to get leverage on his punches to sleep you, that being Athur Beterbiev. And Joe Smith Jr. actually has the speed advantage. He's a guy that has to, load up on his punches. He has to load up on his punches. His punches are very fluid now. He ain't like he got to just reel back and throw power punches to get you up out of there too, but he doesn't have the short, accurate power punches that Athur Beterbiev has, man. He can catch you with shots in close quarters, man, and put you in a bad spot, man. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But this is a very, very intriguing matchup. This is a matchup that definitely not going to the judges' scorecards. I don't see this fight going past 8 rounds. You know, I would kind of think it might not even go past 6 rounds, but I would say at the max 8 rounds. Both of these guys are very confident in their power. They believe their power can build them out of any situation. And I just think that Athur Beterbiev is shown to be the guy with the shakier chin. Joe Smith Jr. has never been even dropped in his professional career. Joe Smith Jr. is a guy that knocked out, I mean knocked out the ring, Bernard the Alien Hopkins. He was a guy that had defied the odds, man. Up to that point, he had been beating guys that a lot of people didn't feel he should be beating at that age. But it finally came to a halt when he got in the ring with Joe Smith Jr. You know, and he got beat decisively. Even before the knockout, Joe Smith Jr. was beating Bernard Hopkins decisively. And he showed that he had improved greatly as a fighter, because he looked like a guy that was one of those guys that was like, you know, he relied on his power, man. He'll take 2 to land 3. He'll take 1 to land 2. One of them type of fighters, you know. He looking like to land those power shots. He ain't trying to set those power shots up. He's just looking to overwhelm you with his power. That being Joe Smith Jr. But Joe Smith Jr. has shown that he's a very much improved fighter. He's a guy that's not wasting a lot of punches. The punches he's throwing, he's making them count. He's a more economical and a more precision power puncher. So this is going to be a very intriguing matchup. Very, very intriguing matchup. When you look at both guys' resume, as far as what both guys have accomplished up to this point, you're gonna look at Athur Beterbiev probably being in there with the. It's probably a wash. You know, Joe Smith Jr. obviously has the bigger name on his resume, knocking out a Hall of Famer in Bernard Hopkins. But when you look at outside of that, he fought Bilber and lost. So those are his 2 best opponents on Joe Smith's resume. And then when you look at Athur Beterbiev, he's been in there with Marcus Brown, who's a top 5, in my opinion, light heavyweight. He's been in there with Callum Johnson. That was a great fight with Callum Johnson. Callum Johnson was one of the guys that dropped Athur Beterbiev. And Callum Johnson is one of the hardest hitters in the light heavyweight division. But again, if he does that, if he fight that same way against Joe Smith Jr. is a better version of Callum Johnson. So he needs to change that up, I think, in my opinion. I don't think he needs to fight exactly that same way. I think he's got to be a little bit more technical and show his underrated boxing skills in the fight with Joe Smith Jr., in my opinion. Because I think he probably can still win a 5-fight, but again, that gives Joe Smith Jr. his best opportunity to pull off the upset if you get in there with a 5. You get in there in a 5-fight with Joe Smith Jr. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But I think he's also been in there with, this probably been his best win when he beat Alexander Gosfak. That was a unification fight, as he was able to add a belt, and now he's a unified light heavyweight champion. He'll be looking to add another belt. He's on the same trajectory as Errol Spence Jr. is in the welterweight division. Errol Spence Jr. was the IBF champion. He defeated Sean Porter. He became unified welterweight champion, and then he defeated Yordenis Ugas, and now he's 1 belt away from being undisputed at 147 pounds. And that's what Athur Beterbiev is looking to do. He's looking to defeat Joe Smith Jr., get another belt, and he'll be 1 belt away from being undisputed. And he'll be looking to set up a fight with Dimitri Bivol. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But it's a very, very exciting matchup. This is a fight for the boxing casuals. It's a very intriguing matchup. I think what's going to be the difference maker in this fight is the versatility of Athur Beterbiev. I think he's going to mix it up a little bit. I don't think he's just going to go into a 5-fight with Joe Smith Jr. because he knows that gives Joe Smith Jr. his only opportunity to win the fight. I think he's going to fight a more technical fight. He's going to be looking to set up the jab. I think he's going to be looking to stay on the outside a little bit and catch him with the 1-2. And then when Joe Smith Jr. tries to get a little bit close, I think he's going to try to make him pay. And I think at times he's going to try to. Once he does that, I think that's when he's going to put his foot on the gas. Maybe probably around rounds 3 or 4, he'll start trying to step to Joe Smith Jr. and he'll be looking to land power shots. I think he done broke down Joe Smith Jr. enough to step to him, and then he'll be looking to close the show. So I look for a 7th round knockout from Athur Beterbiev. I think he kind of systematically breaks down Joe Smith Jr. in the first half of the fight. I think when we get to the early portion of the second half of the fight, that'd be round 7, I think he closes the show. Now, if he does do what he's been doing in his previous fight and steps to Joe Smith Jr. and looks for a 5 fight and looks to try to get him up out of there as quick as possible, then it's a 50-50 fight, because he is the most versatile power puncher, but he has the shakier chin. So that kind of equalizes things when you're taking on a power puncher in Joe Smith Jr. Let me know your thoughts on who you like in this particular matchup, Joe Smith Jr. or Athur Beterbiev. This is the fight for the boxing casual. I'm a boxing hardcore fan, and I believe that this fight will be a fight that will be a candidate for fight of the year. It'll be one of the fights where it won't be a long fight, but it'll still be in a discussion for the fight of the year. That's how exciting this fight is going to be, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on who you like in this particular matchup. You like Athur Beterbiev, or do you like Joe Smith Jr.? Let me know your thoughts, and let me know what round you think the fight ends in. Also, when picking the fighter you think is just going to win this fight. Let me know your thoughts. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Follow me on Twitter, JBsports3303. Like, share, and subscribe. And hit the bell icon button to JB Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. And I'll holla